naturally. It's called Full Disclosure Part 2. Follows my first EP. The reason why I decided to split them up, I guess, is because they are very two distinctive camps in terms of the genres and the influences, whereas the first one was a bit more modern, neo-soul, jazzy with that electronic twist. Part 2 has got these very hooky pop, old school soul, Motown influences, which is a lot of music that I loved listening to and still listen to a lot. And yeah, that's Part 2. 6 full tracks and 1 interlude. The first song is called Fools. I watched this video on YouTube or wherever, somewhere, and it was these street performers on a subway in New York, and they were dancing and singing, and it was all a cappella, and they did spoken word, and I thought it was so cool and how they were so fearless. Like, to me, like, I just busked for the first time this year, and it was frightening. Good fun, but like, watching that video, I was like, wow, that's so fearless. I wanted to write about that fearlessness, and again, you know, people love an underdog, and I think a lot of us have someone or sometimes been told like, oh, you shouldn't do that, or this is what you should be doing, or why are you going for music, what's your real job, that sort of thing. And I wanted to write a song about how you should just shut that noise out and, you know, you do you. They're reflecting their own insecurities on you, and that maybe they didn't dare go for something and they are scared and they probably envy that fearlessness, so they try and push you down. Don't let them, you know, you got to do what feels right to you.
Jealousy will take me over. I don't understand what it is you can't see.
Second tune is called We Can't Be Friends. This was a weird one because I sort of grappled this one a bit differently in terms of how I usually write songs, because I'm a singer first, not an instrumentalist. I don't really, you know, unless I plug in my keyboard to Logic and try and play around it that way, I don't really play an instrument. So someone recommended me, there was this app where you could, you know, have all the chords and you could put them together and move them around and play around and with different chord structure. I was like, why not, you know, give it a go. And probably in a matter of like 5 minutes, I had found this combination of chords and I just really liked it. And I got that, you and I, we got the history lyric came to me, and I decided to write about that complicated thing, you know, when you're friends, but then you realize that you want to be more than friends, and the other person is in a relationship, and it just complicates everything because you feel that you're so much more suitable and better for this person than the person that they're with, not knowing whether you should give up the friendship because it hurts you too much to, you know, stay friends even though you want something more, but do you want to give that up, you know, because you feel there's a special thing there. Do you give it up because you can't have the romantic part, or do you stay where you are? That's what We Can't Be Friends is about.
Letting go of what I know. I'm naked but not alone.
This was a hard one. I Know Love. I was very hesitant to put this out, to be honest, because it's very raw and very, very vulnerable, because I talk about trauma and stuff that happened to me in my childhood, and you don't want to rock the boat, and you don't want to, you know, put someone out and be like, hey, now I'm telling the whole world what happened to me. But at the same time, I think that there's a valuable life lesson to be learned, because for the longest time I held on to that trauma and I let it define me for a really, really long time. It grew into this bitter kind of thing, and eventually I came to a point where, like, I have to stop dwell over this. And I have to move on and realize, yeah, okay, this happened to me, but it does not define me. And I'm in a place now where I am surrounded by love and great people that appreciate me and, you know, are nice to me. And that's a beautiful thing. And, you know, it was something from the past. Yes, it's there, it happened to me, but I can move on. And this song was sort of like okay, I'm putting that to the side and it's time to let go.
What's it gonna take to make it right?
This next song was given to me by my producer, Lee Bradshaw. It's called What's It Gonna Take? And when he gave it to me, I was scared. I was like, wow, I don't know if I can do this song justice, but Lee does what he does, and, you know, he tells you know what, stop that nonsense. I believe you can do it, you should do it. And I did. The song is about someone probably letting their person down in the relationship, and things gone bad and they've probably gone their separate ways, but they realise that they're crazy without this person, and they are torn up about what they did, and they just want them to come back, and they're willing to do anything and just begging. Like, I see myself as a very happy and, you know, cheerful person. You know, shit happens, but I feel like I'm quite a positive, optimistic person. But I have a very, I don't know, I'm drawn at the same time to songs that are sad and angry and that has that emotion. And maybe because I don't really get a lot of space to show those feelings in my real life, maybe it's easier to sing about them. So this song, I was drawn to it, scared the shit out of me, but I took the leap and I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. I'm glad he gave it to me. I Hate the Way That I Love You is the next tune. Another one that Lee Bradshaw wrote and gifted to me. We went to the piano and he played it to me, he sang it to me, and Lee, as I don't know if you know him, he's an amazing singer as well. And I was just floored, and I was like, I'm taking this song, I want it. And the way he made it into this sort of drivey, badass, I keep saying sassy, I guess that's the type of music that I do now. I make sassy music, I acknowledge that. And it's got that Motown sort of drive, the drums, and it's really, really badass. And I feel that it lends itself well and shows that those influences that I have of the Motown and old school soul. I Hate the Way That I Love You is always the crowd favorite when we perform it live. Everyone, you know, sings along because the chorus is super catchy. And after the show, people come up to me like, hey, where can I find that song? Can I listen to it? And I keep, you know, teasing that, it's coming out soon, and now it's finally out, so yeah.
Better let down my guard. I better let down my guard.
The last tune on this EP is called Let Down Your Guard, and it's an a cappella tune. I wrote it about having unrelenting standards on yourself and that perfectionism that I've talked about in the past. You know, everything has to be a certain way, and if it's not like that, then you shouldn't do it at all. And I dealt with a lot of anxiety, which held me back, and it painted a different picture of my actual reality. Like, I thought that things were going in one way, but because it had that anxiety cloud over it, I couldn't see what was good, and I dug myself down a really deep hole. During COVID, it became even worse, and I hadn't written in a long time, and I came back to this song. I found it in my bag and I was like, oh wow, yeah, this is what it's about. Let down your guard. You know, you can't get stuck in your own head, and you got to turn to those things that make you happy in the first place, which for me is music. And I got inspired by obviously gospel music because it's very similar to, you know, a spiritual, it's very chanty. I wanted to repeat the main message of the song, which is let down your guard, and really bang that into people's heads, because it's so easy to hold on to all this bad stuff and anxiety and not daring to just let go or take a breath and be like, now let's start over, start fresh. And yeah.
Your guard, you better let down your guard. I will take me places, there's nowhere I